If you had the power to come back from the dead, what would you do? Your former mentor is a revolutionist killer, and you're going to have to help your worst enemy in order to take him down. I'm going to break down the mistakes made, what you should do, and how to beat Sato in Ajin Season 2.
Dom here. There's a slight error in the script. We changed the name from K in Season 1 of Ajin to now Nagai in Season 2, or as Griffin would say, Nagai. So sorry about that.
These two kids called Nagai and Nakano will be forced into taking down the most dangerous revolutionist in the world, Sato, aka the Man in the Hat. These kids have been discovered to be Ajin, which are types of humans who cannot die and can summon these black ghosts to do whatever they want. These two are running from this guy called Tosaki, who is an expert Ajin killer and has just been ordered by his boss to hunt down Sato. Sato wants to make Ajins legal in Japan, but since the government has ignored his wishes, he's now made a list of 15 powerful people in Japan who are against his kind, and will begin killing them one by one until he gets what he wants. Meanwhile, these Ajin kids continue to be on the run with no clue of what to do next, when suddenly Nagai finds out on his phone that the guy they're running away from, Tosaki, his wife is in a deep coma, and so the two pay her a visit and tell Tosaki exactly where they're going, forcing them to meet up with him face to face to make a deal. Nagai tells a trigger-happy Tosaki that they should team up to take down the one person who made both their lives miserable, Sato himself, and they agree to team up. Okay, we all know the phrase, the enemy of my enemy is my friend, but dang, has anybody forgotten what he has put us through? What our own government has put us through? He works for the government to hunt down Ajin and then torture them in the name of science, till we die and then come back to life again and again for profit, using what they discovered from our mangled bodies to advance technology in medicine and warfare. This guy's about as trustful as the OG glasses guy is with a cell phone camera. We can't trust this guy at all. But Nagai is right about the fact that we're just a couple of Ajin kids with no money, resources, or practical training really in combating Sato, which means we need to think smart and long term. However, I wouldn't have relied on Tosaki's good faith into believing us and teaming up with us, because that was a risky move, and he could have easily turned down our offer and captured us on the spot. In a much more perfect situation, I would have tried to gain some good faith with him before approaching Tosaki. I would have tried to capture another bad guy that they're chasing around to show him that we mean business and are serious about making a deal with him. However, that wouldn't have been realistic. We literally have no money or resources in finding Sato or his henchmen. But the least they could have done was not rush into meeting Tosaki, because Nagai found out through his hacking skills information on Tosaki and that his wife has been in a coma for ages, which means using her as bait to lure Tosaki was perfect. However, Nagai had no real reason to rush into calling Tosaki as soon as he found out about his wife's whereabouts. In setting up a meeting where tensions are high, it's important to establish a point of contact that the initiator is familiar with. The guy proposing the terms should always try to set the meeting on a familiar home turf. However, Nagai just rushed into it, setting up a meeting with Tosaki where his wife was, which he no doubt has been to many times before and is more familiar with the layout than Nagai was. The least this stupid kid could have done was to check out the hospital first, get familiar with the layout and its escape entrances, the vent systems, and so on, even if all of this took a while. Cause remember, we're all alone and Tosaki isn't going after our family anymore to find us. We can take our sweet time to make sure we set things up right. Nagai and Nakano join with Tosaki and his Ajin Hunter task force, and they watch Sato declare on the news that he's already begun killing the people on his list, which means they don't have much time to waste. Tosaki then begins training them and sees that Nagai is better suited to being the brains of the operation and Nakano the muscle. They meet with this famous Ajin doctor, who Tosaki and his men kidnapped earlier, and he asks to see Nagai's black ghost. The guy tells the doctor that his ghost doesn't follow orders, does the opposite of whatever he says, and goes on autopilot after a while, doing his own thing if Nagai doesn't keep him under control. The Ajin doctor then suspects that because his ghost is so dense and doesn't listen to his orders, that this is related to the mind and ego of the owner of the black ghost, meaning that if Nagai wants to fix his broken black ghost, he needs to fix himself first, because this kid has got some serious anger issues against everybody, and it's seriously messing with his powers. Elsewhere, Sato gets ready to kill his next target and asks his crew to put him in this full makeup outfit, because what he's about to do will shock the world. He arrives at this airport, sneaks through security, and gets on the plane. He sits down, seeing nearby what he's come for, his next target. The plane takes off, not knowing everyone on this plane is already dead. Now high in the sky, Sato gets up and heads to business class. He kills kills this guy and these other 2 bodyguards, terrifying the shit out of this lady as his black ghost kills the next victim on his kill list. He then detonates the bomb that he brought with him on the plane, causing the whole thing to come crashing down, forcing every innocent human being on board with him to die. Okay, this proves my earlier point. We don't have time to mess around. Yes, training to use their black ghost is important, but the training regimen that Tosaki has for these kids is actually very smart. Because despite having powers, working out in general can provide the user with many benefits that will spill over into everyday life, from reducing stress levels to improving sharper memory and thinking, and also improving your overall cognitive function. And after what the Ajin doctor said, the performance of an Ajin's black ghost is highly based on the mental and emotional state of the Ajin himself. Nagai is a smart kid, but he's only as good as his ability to control himself in combat, and a large chunk of this will come down to his mental state. In fact, Tosaki should have taken this one step further and included mental drills commonly used on soldiers in order to help them prepare for the trauma of combat that they will face, such as working on controlling aggressive thoughts, relaxation, and cut down on destructive emotions that can plague the user's mind. Basically, getting comfortable at being uncomfortable. Nagai knows that he has problems controlling his black ghost because he himself is not fully stable, at least stable enough to be able to control his black ghost effectively. So rather than relying on Nagai to simply work on himself, Tosaki should have someone help work on Nagai's mental insides as well, because working on the fundamental characteristics of stress regulation and mental stability is just as important as the physical, and they need all the help that they can get. Back at the base, Nagai walks into this room and sees his coworkers aim their guns at him, and he lets out his Ajin scream, which instantly knocks them out. But Nakano comes out pissed as hell and tells him that they were just teaching him how to shoot. Nagai tells him that they can't trust anybody anywhere. Nakano thinks Nagai is acting crazy, and they are then told by the group that Sato has just killed the next person on his kill list. This pisses Nagai off, and he runs into the forest to figure out his black ghost. In the woods, his black ghost starts trying to kill him and doesn't listen to anything Nagai says, freaking him the hell out as his black ghost goes absolutely nuts on a tree. Nagai is too battle-hardened for his own good, and his angry emotions are messing everything up. Later, Tosaki gets everyone together and tells them that based on his research, Sato will most likely kill this guy next, the labor minister, who has gone into hiding, which means that they have time to prepare for Sato's attack. But Sato manages to find out the minister's location, and he sends his finest, Ajin Death Hunter, to go after the minister, causing more horrors and more deaths to rack up as he kills the minister and everyone else trying to protect him with brutal ease. Tosaki later gets word about this and realizes that Sato is far more deadly than they thought, and tells the team to speed up their training, and he tells Nagai to hurry up and fix himself and his black ghost, because it still doesn't listen to anything that Nagai tells it. More days pass by, and they get word that Sato has killed another person on his kill list. Nakano begins freaking out, saying out loud what everybody is thinking. They don't have much time left before Sato kills everyone on his list, and more trouble comes their way, because the Department of Defense asks Tosaki to come in for a chat. They're investigating the death of this famous Ajin doctor, the same one that Tosaki kidnapped and faked his death to cover their tracks, because the only way to stop Sato will be with the help of this Ajin doctor. Elsewhere in this prison sits Blonde Guy, Nagai's ex-best friend, and who helped Nagai escape when he first discovered his Ajin powers. He willingly went to prison for Nagai. This guy is best friend goals and has a heart of gold, I'm not even kidding, and he helps this serious face dude with some prison thugs, which causes serious face dude to save his life, and we discover that blonde hair guy has now become best friends in prison with a flying Ajin. Later on, back at the base, the group trains for the fight to come, and Tosaki keeps tabs on one of the most important people on the list, this minister, and his whereabouts. They find out that this minister will hold a meeting with the vice minister in a few days to discuss new government plans against Sato. The group prepares to catch Sato during that meeting and come up with an idea to find out the location of the meeting by stealing the minister's schedule. However, this man and woman sent by the Department of Defense don't give a damn about their plans and asks Tosaki to meet with them. They think that the famous Ajin doctor isn't actually dead and believe that Tosaki has something to do with it. Tosaki denies everything and walks out, and later sends in Black Hair Girl to steal the minister's schedule by using some crafty Ajin tricks, and she later takes a peek at the thumb drive. While waiting, Tosaki gets kidnapped by the same man and woman from earlier, burying a needle into his neck and forcing him to pass out. Black Hair Girl shows up late to the party, releasing her black ghost to fight them, but is shocked to see a different black ghost from another Ajin, from this girl, girl. Okay, this is why black-haired girl should not have snuck a peek at that thumb drive. The Department of Defense is breathing down our necks about the Ajin doctor that Tosaki kidnapped, so we can't afford any mistakes. This Ajin doctor is an American biophysicist who is world-renowned about his scientific outlook on Ajins, and he knows how black ghosts are formed and even the science behind their existence. Both the American and Japanese government are aware of the existence of Ajins and have a research agreement sharing info about Ajins between the two nations, which means that this guy is probably the most important guy around here when it comes to Ajins. And based on the research agreement between Japan and the US and the fact that the Ajin doctor has dual citizenship with the US, Tosaki should have figured out way earlier that the country of freedom and bald eagles would have come knocking on his door eventually. And because of this, he should have worked better at erasing every single speck of evidence that day he kidnapped the Ajin doctor. Because up until now, Tosaki has had ample head start on this, which he chose not to take advantage of. Also, the assignment was to steal the minister's schedule. It was not to open the thumb drive right within the compound itself. There surely would have been cameras around, which means that black-haired girl just risked the entire operation by being way too curious and taking a peek at the thumb drive before she got back to the car. And if she hadn't done this, she could have had a better chance at getting to Tosaki before he got injected. Curiosity killed the cat, and in this case, it pretty much killed black-haired girl's only shot of saving Tosaki thanks to her eagerness. Because let's face it, if someone is showing up and accusing you of shit related to Ajins, it's safe to say that they would have implemented security measures, like bringing along their very own Ajin for situations like this one. These two made a fatal error and it's going to cost them. Both of the Ajin girls look at each other in shock as they both reveal their horrifying powers to each other. They battle it out, but this blonde lady is way better than black-haired girl, kicking her ass and badly wounding her, before black-haired girl runs away at the last moment and passes out, and Team Blondie escapes with Tosaki in their car. Later, at an unknown location, they begin their horrifying plans to interrogate Tosaki, demanding to know where the famous Ajin doctor is being kept. But Tosaki has some serious Moomin Rider-sized balls and doesn't tell them shit, forcing blonde-haired girl to inject Tosaki with a famous toxin, and this toxin is made especially for Ajins and works by paralyzing the diaphragm, making the person feel like they're slowly suffocating. She stabs Tosaki as he quickly begins choking on his own bravery and sits there helplessly. Okay, this is terrifying and makes me think that Team Blondie here is way more sadistic than their homelandery appearance makes it seem, which is really saying something. Now, it seems as though this toxin that blonde lady has is some type of designer drug, since the drug name that she mentioned doesn't seem to actually exist, at least on paper. But like any such designer drug, this one seems to mimic the effects of such toxins that disrupt the parasympathetic nervous system, or the system that regulates bodily function automatically. Tosaki's breathing was altered to make him feel like he was suffocating, to make him feel like he was dying. This likely means that this drug interfered with his heart's processes by inhibiting his sympathetic nervous system, blocking neuromuscular transmissions, and forcing his diaphragm muscle to stop working properly. The likely drug similar to the effects that Tosaki was injected with could have been through the use of a toxin known as Q-rare, a toxin that can be found in a class of plants and is a poison used by Amazon tribes centuries prior. This drug is a neurotoxin that acts as a neuromuscular blocking agent, capable of blocking messages sent by the body's central nervous system to control the movement of muscle, and was used for medicinal purposes in the mid-19th century as a muscle relaxant during surgeries that required anesthesia. This toxin, when administered in proper dosages, can cause death by asphyxiation due to the paralysis of the diaphragm. Very similar, right, to how Tosaki was affected just now. The dosage amount to use Q-rare within a safe range is so slim that doctors don't even use this crap anymore. That's how dangerous this stuff is. However, the effects from Q-rare can be reversed with no consequence if the dosages are small enough. However, since Team Blondie is using this drug willy-nilly with no other drugs to cure Tosaki of this toxin, this makes me think that they mixed this neurotoxin with something else to offset the certainty of death from this poison, since they did mention that this drug would not kill Tosaki, only that it would make him feel like he is dying very slowly. Back in the parking lot, black-haired girl finally wakes up and runs back to tell Nagai and the rest of them what just happened. She tries to convince them to stop their plan to save the minister in order to save Tosaki first, and with a little rough convincing, she gets Nagai and the rest of the team to get on her side to go save Tosaki. The Ajin doctor also tells them that he thinks he knows where they're holding Tosaki, at a safe house that they've used before, and the gang suits up to go save him. Meanwhile, Tosaki continues to get brutally tortured as Nagai and his team bust into the same warehouse and use their Ajin powers and tactics to defeat all of Team Blondie's minions, forcing these blonde bastards to escape. And Nagai quickly sends his Ajin to chase after them and puts a tracker on their car, causing a terrifying car chase through the city streets, and Nagai Nagai and crew try to catch them before they head to the one place in Japan where they'll be safe from them and the Japanese government, the United States Embassy. Flying down narrow city streets, Nagai and crew chase Team Blondie down. Black-haired girl takes a back road and surprises the two and crashes into them head-on. The two escape, but black-haired girl catches up, but still recovering, doesn't have enough strength to summon her black ghost. She tries to stop them herself, but blonde girl takes her out with her black ghost and badly injures her again. Suddenly, black-haired girl gets so mad that somehow she unleashes her black ghost, destroying blonde girls, and black-haired girl shoots blonde guy with a sleeping dart. After talking to each other, blonde girl decides to betray her master, shooting him while he's unconscious, and walks away. Black-haired girl and Tosaki are quickly then rescued by Nagai and crew, but Tosaki freaks out because he realizes that if they're all here with him, then that means that the minister is by himself. He's all alone. Tosaki quickly calls the minister assistant, but he tells them that they're too late, that Sato has already killed the minister, and that Sato left him alive to tell the tale. The group then heads back to their safe house sad as hell, and Tosaki gives up, but suddenly Nagai comes up with an important update. Sato has just uploaded another terrifying announcement online. Sato, through the camera lens, tells the world that he's killed almost everyone on his kill list except one, and that he will kill his final target, this CEO, exactly at this time 3 days from now at this meeting. Nagai and crew freak out, and so does Sato's minions. Confused as hell, they ask Sato why he just revealed to the world their plans, but Sato tells them to relax, that it makes the game more fun, because what Sato has planned will shock everyone. On the news, the president of Japan announces that due to Sato, the government has just officially sanctioned a new team to protect the CEO and that meeting. This new team is called the Anti-Ajin Special Forces, handpicked and specially trained to fight only Ajins, using the latest weapon technology made by the same company that this CEO runs, Musashi Industries. The gang knows that these guys don't have what it takes to take on Sato, and so they also prepare for one last fight against Sato. The government is using an Anti-Ajin Special Forces unit to capture Sato? Yeah, it sounds good on paper, but we all know what happened in Season 1. Sato has taken out a Special Forces team before. I get it, they're scared and on the brink of losing their shit, but really, better weapons is what is going to stop Sato. This guy has avoided an entire government hell-bent on getting him. They are so underestimating their opponent. They think they now have him beat with this Special Forces unit. Sato knows they're underestimating him, which is why he basically gave us and the government a freebie by revealing his cards and telling us exactly when he'll attack next and where. While on the surface this looks simple, but if we take a look past Sato, we can instantly figure out that this guy is straight up playing us, because the only reason you would ever reveal your cards is if you're holding something else up your sleeve. And it's clear that, come on, back in the past, like I said, he's already done this before. He's already taken out a Special Forces unit, and he also snuck onto a plane and brought a bomb while being the most wanted person in all of Japan and, dare I say, the world. There's no way he would tell us all of this unless he had something to compensate the fact that we know when and where he's going to attack. What the government should do is take a look at what has happened before. He has used a bomb in the past, and bombs can be made in all shapes and sizes and can be used to take down buildings in a matter of minutes. And also, if we take a look at the mind of Sato, he's a jokester, he's a trickster, he enjoys chaos, and enjoys doing it in the most grandiose way possible, which means for him it must be some sort of spectacle. And what could be more devastating than a bomb taking out an entire building? The Anti-Ajin Special Forces unit terrifies Sato's crew, but Sato tells them to relax. He has a plan more sinister than ever. Back at the base, Nagai and Tosaki go over their plan that will take place during the CEO meeting in a few days, where Sato will surely attack. Tosaki says that they are only to attack Sato if the Anti-Ajin Special Forces fail to capture him then and there, because now that these Special Forces guys are in the game, Tosaki's people can't get in their way. Tosaki then goes back to his headquarters and convinces his boss to let his team help out, because no one knows what Sato is truly capable of. A few days later, the day of the meeting arrives, and Tosaki's team goes into the building, sneaking Nagai and Nakano in. The whole of Japan prepares for Sato. Just then a truck suddenly pulls up and the cops surround it. They open the back of the truck and see a massive device attached to a laptop. In the distance, Sato, through the camera on the laptop, stares at the cops surrounding the truck and presses a button. Suddenly a massive explosion erupts, destroying everything and everyone nearby, and the power everywhere suddenly goes out. The general tells everybody that they've just been hit with an EMP bomb, capable of shutting down all electronics nearby. Suddenly drones come flying in and dive down into the crowd of cops, exploding on impact, and Sato rappels down and into the building, and the fight begins. It's a chaotic bloodbath. Sato's right-hand man, this long-haired guy, then calls his black ghost to take these soldiers out, brutally tearing them apart, but then he gets shot and and losing all hope until Sato finally comes out from hiding and he's pissed. He then goes hand to hand with these two guys and beats them with ease, moving with more precision and skill than anyone this group has ever seen, and they quickly get overwhelmed and defeated. Sato's team then heads up the stairs and they get fired upon again, but this time it's Nagai's crew, and the two teams carry on the firefight. Sato slips behind them and enters the conference room, but finds Nagai holding the CEO hostage. Nagai then blames Sato for ruining his life and tells him to drop his weapon or else, and Sato agrees. Then suddenly these two shoot at Sato with tranquilizers, but they get blocked by his black ghost. Sato smiles wide, but then gets shot by a third tranquilizer. It's Nagai's black ghost from above. Sato then plops down to the floor and the gang celebrates, because a black ghost is only deadly if the Ajin is awake to control it. But they don't realize what hell they've just caused, because suddenly black-haired girl gets shot and they realize that Sato's black ghost is still moving, while Sato is unconscious. Nagai then trembles in fear as he gets knocked down by Sato's ghost, and it kills Sato and brings him back to life good as new. Nagai then looks on in sheer terror as Sato busts out the front door and begins shooting at Nagai's team that is still fighting against Sato's crew, and Nagai, badly injured, can do nothing but watch as Sato takes out his teammates one by one, and Sato returns and prepares to cut Nagai's head off, just like he promised way back when. Just then, a military helicopter shows up, forcing Sato and his team to back off and make a getaway. Well, that went well. Not. Nagai from the get-go should have thought that if he was capable of controlling his black ghost while unconscious, then probably he wasn't the only Ajin who could do this. And of all Ajins, Sato, with his experience, could probably have been capable of doing the same thing. And also, the Ajin doctor is partially to be blamed for this, because someone as capable as Sato should have had some form of record on file. We know that Sato was in the military before, which means that he had to have had some sort of record on file. They put way too much faith in their assumption that Sato wasn't capable of what Nagai is, because as we can clearly see, he was. Nagai gets captured by the military, and Sato and his team escape, and Sato even kills the CEO, shocking his whole team. But Sato then says that this CEO wouldn't have granted their kind any civil rights, and that they'll have to put on a big show in order to get what they want. And Sato's team opens up this weaponized vault in preparation for what's to come. But these guys have no idea just how truly insane Sato really is. Back on the ground, Tosaki's team catches a breather and goes all self-defeated for a second until Tosaki puts his boss, this glasses guy, to sleep and frees Nagai and Nakano, and everyone escapes. Back at the base, Tosaki blames all of this crap on Nagai, and Tosaki tells the whole team to give up. Nagai goes and cries in his room for a little bit as Sato goes on the news and reveals that his kill list is over, and that within 10 days he'll begin the final wave, and that he plans to seriously negotiate with the government this time. The next day, Sato's team reaches this military compound in trucks, and he shoots these two guys as more and more trucks enter, and that's when the chaos begins. A wave of these undead Ajin warriors begin sweeping this base and kill every single last soldier to be seen, and they quickly overtake the base's armory, and Sato then makes another live broadcast, saying that 1 week from today, all non-Ajins in Japan must evacuate this country, and he's going to turn this place into purely an Ajin territory, and if they don't, he'll use these weapons to kill everyone. Tosaki and his team see Sato's madness live and agree to try and take him out one last time. Back at the president of Japan's office, they go over the situation and discuss what Sato has and what he's truly capable of. Okay, this is nuts, and this proves that Sato is certifiably crazy. These missiles that Sato is threatening to destroy Japan with contain nerve agents, also known as nerve gas, which is a class of organic chemical that disrupts the mechanisms by which nerves transfer messages to organs, hence the name nerve gas, because death by one of these can occur within minutes, and it works by ensuring death by respiratory arrest through the effect it has on the diaphragm, paralyzing it and also affecting the area of the brainstem that controls breathing, known as the respiratory center. This weapon is basically a neurotoxin on roids, and even a low dose of it from one of these bad boys can ensure that its victims experience a variety of neurological and mental disorders, from loss of memory, mental confusion, and cognitive problems. Sato killed almost every single person on his kill list. He knowingly killed every person that was capable of having the laws change in order to grant their Ajin kind rights. He murdered that minister from earlier. That guy could have helped Sato enact laws that could have helped Ajins. The fact that he killed him means he had no intention of making an agreement with the government. There was way less extreme measures that he could have taken in order to get what he wanted. I have two options for the government. 1. Give Tosaki actually full governmental support support and resources that will make their efforts in getting to Sato much easier. Or option 2, vaporize the compound right now. Let's see how well Ajin survive a land-to-air missile. Go ahead, let the chemical weapons get destroyed, because if the missile blast doesn't incinerate the entire area and the chemicals, that nerve gas paralyzes the diaphragm, right? Our breathing muscle. Then wouldn't that mean that most Ajins wouldn't be able to wake back up, and even if they did, they would suffocate and pass out? And that's if they survived the blast, which I highly doubt. I believe the combined destruction of military-grade weapons and buildings would kill everybody and anybody in the area. Back at the armory, Sato licks his lips at everything going on, and the government contacts them and tells Sato that they're willing to work with them, and that they're willing to make some Japanese islands nearby an official Ajin nation. And this gets all the other Ajins excited as hell, but then Sato spits in their face and does the craziest thing ever. He launches the nerve gas missiles, launching it right near the president's office, killing 2 people and horrifying everyone else, even the Ajin. And he tells everyone that they now have 3 days to evacuate Japan or else. Sato's crew finally thinks he's too crazy, but Sato threatens to cut off their heads if they don't follow his orders, and they realize that Sato doesn't give a damn about their future. All he cares about is the thrill of battle. And so his crew decides to sneak away through the sewers and head towards the one person they know who could help them, Nagai. At the president's office, they decide to release poison gas through underground tunnels near the armory and around that area, killing everyone, innocent and guilty, nearby. Sato's crew calls Nagai and asks to meet. They tell him that they want to join the team and are willing to help Nagai take Sato down, and in return they ask for their freedom. Both sides agree to work together, and they even tell Tosaki where Sato is hiding, and everyone heads to Tosaki's base, and he goes over the battle plan. They plan to capture Sato before the military releases the poison gas. But Nagai has an idea. This is all a game to Sato, which means that Sato has a weakness they can use. Later on, Sato and long-haired dude sit and wait, and they then get an alert that someone is coming, and Sato gets ready for the incoming military. But just Nagai shows up, surprising Sato and pissing him off, because no one gets between him and his games. Nagai calls out his black ghost, but gets defeated quickly by Sato, and the team quickly runs away, with Nagai calling on multiple black ghosts to slow down Sato as they lead him right here. Sato aims his sights on the group when all of a sudden an explosion erupts, and Nagai tells him that they plan to bury him alive right here and now. But Sato is one step ahead of them and takes out his own phone and detonates his own bomb nearby, burying everyone instead. Okay, look, these guys were at the end of their rope, and they almost had Sato dead to rights. Nagai here is the smartest of the lot, sure, but boy did he act dumb here. This is the one time where they could have outsmarted Sato and allowed him no backup plan, because at this point, we know Sato always has a backup plan. We have to make sure Sato doesn't think he needs to trigger his backup plan until it's too late. At the last moment, Nagai chose to go the route of every James Bond villain ever and comment on how he was going to get to Sato, rather than just saying nothing and blowing the whole place up to hell. We could have even had Nakano go fight him head on and continuously keep Sato busy and not realize what we are about to do. Because think about this orange-haired bozo has a heart full of gold and is the sweetest of the bunch, yes, but he's also the strongest of us here. And the fit tests that Tosaki put us through showed that he is faster, stronger than Nagai is. Nagai should have risked permanently killing Nakano if that meant he could have distracted Sato up until the last moment. The gang wakes up scattered and injured, trapped underground, and Sato wants to play one last game with them all. Black-hair girl is terrified as her black ghost tries to slow down Sato, but nothing can stop him. He kills this guy and closes in on her. Black-hair girl, done running, decides to face Sato herself, but gets shot by Sato with ease. He even prepares to kill this girl, but Nagai's black ghost stops him. No one can do anything, and Sato beats them all, cutting off Nakano's hand and beating the shit out of Nagai. And long-haired guy then shows up to help Sato. He tries to kill black-hair girl just as Nakano's black ghost stops him, distracting him just long enough until black-hair girl shoots him with a sleeping dart, making him pass out. Nearby, Nagai, now out of energy, backs up as Sato prepares to cut off his head. Staring death in the face suddenly causes Nagai to release a flood of black ghosts everywhere, killing Sato and chopping off his head, defeating him. The government arrives to capture Sato, with Tosaki showing up, with the agreement to let these Ajin kids remain under his control, and the group goes back to their normal lives. Little do they realize Sato isn't done, and he escapes with long-haired dude. These two ain't done with terrifying Japan, and they prepare for their second playthrough. But what do you guys think about Ajin Season 2? Let us know what you like and what you didn't like. Don't forget to leave a thumbs up, and also don't forget to check out our How to Beat videos.